The gunmen attacked while Palestinians were gathered for early morning Ramadan prayers at a site holy to Arabs and Jews. As casualties arrived at hospitals around Hebron, people gathered outside, becoming increasingly angry as the scale of the bloodshed became apparent.
There is blood all over outside the mosque. We walked into the mosque itself, and the scene is really a horrific scene. People who were killed were, praying at dawn, prayer. And they were actually in the praying, process itself. They were kneeling down.
At least 48 people killed, shot down at prayer. Inside, doctors struggled to save the lives of dozens of injured, trying desperately to staunch the consequences of the shooting. Distraught relatives tried to make sense of what had happened. Appeals were put out for blood, as hospital stocks were soon exhausted. Local people also rushed to the hospital with supplies for the sick. As victims were pronounced dead, some of the bodies were taken outside, and the sight of them only inflamed the passions of those gathered around the hospitals further. Palestinian youths spilled onto the streets, and Israeli troops, fearing that they might be overwhelmed, fired warning shots. This is the man responsible, Baruch Goldstein, seen here using a symbol of the Nazi Holocaust to make a point during a demonstration last November. Goldstein, from a militant settlement near Hebron, died at the scene of his crime. Palestinian eyewitnesses say there was more than one gunman. Israel disputes that, and there's been condemnation of the attack from across the political spectrum.
This deranged action of the lunatic individual will not prevent the reconciliation between the citizens of the State of Israel and the Palestinian people.
It's a despicable, abominable crime. It's a horrible, horrible crime that has to be condemned with any words of condemnation that a civilized human being can summon.
In Gaza, there were running battles all day between Israeli troops and Palestinian youths who blamed the very existence of Jewish settlements for today's events. 3 Palestinians were shot dead, according to the Israeli army, and at times even the ambulances were coming under fire. Many Palestinian leaders are concerned that the peace process will be overtaken by violence.
What is beyond doubt is the fact that there will be an escalation in the spiral of violence. I think this will signal a new phase in which people who are against the peace process, people who feel that this is such an outrage that it has to be avenged, will go out and try to take revenge. People who individually, as a result of their pain and anger, will seek to express it in violent ways. And as a result of despair, people will commit desperate acts.
The size of the death toll and the significance to Muslims of an attack on people at prayer during Ramadan mean that at the moment Palestinian emotion is speaking louder than Palestinian reason. But if the peace process is to survive, both sides will have to curb their extremists, and quickly.